And welcome, everybody. Episode 26, the Marty St. Louis edition of Hat Trick Hockey. Ant here. Excited. This is officially 6 months in for us. As always, this episode and all episodes moving forward will be brought to you by our good friends over at GL Heritage, the official beer of Hat Trick Hockey. So, got a few things that we're going to talk about. Before we do that, we're going to bring in my buddy Rob. Rob, what's up, dude? Oh, there it is.
Hear that?
Here, you
How
know
good
what?
did that sound? Hey, Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yeah, everybody. Merry Christmas. Oh, we'll get that.
It's right around the corner from New
From New
Year's,
Year's, yeah.
Hopefully everybody stays home, stays safe.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully everybody
But
had
sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, hopefully everybody had a safe and Merry Christmas. But obviously I know how yours went. Me and you kind of got to hang out a little bit.
Yeah, COVID free.
Yeah, it was nice. It was, yeah, we got to hang out, have a couple beers, enjoy. We were crushing GLs as usual, right? Which, by the way, Greg, Rob and I are going to probably have to come see you soon. Going to have to restock for us. Restock for the boys. Because we love blondes, right, Rob?
Love the blondes. Love the blondes.
Do you have any plans for like New Year's or just chilling?
There's not really much you can do, right? So I think Misty and I are just gonna. I'm pretty sure we have the kids, so we're just gonna do some board games. Maybe order some swishy.
Yeah.
Samwashi.
Mm-hmm.
Sushi.
I thought you guys would normally do the old fire at night thing, is what you guys sometimes do during the winter when you get those good nights.
Yep, it's not bad.
Because I know
not a bad idea.
Because I know I burned a pair of boots over there before. Went home, like walking home the one day. I'm like, fuck, man, like why is my sock getting wet? I turned it over. I had a hole the size of a toonie in it because I was trying to get my feet all toasty near the fire there. I like melted away the bottom of my boot.
Well, is that when you used the whole road to walk home?
No, I think that was the summertime when I used sidewalk and road that one time.
Totally different.
What did I tell you though? I said, you point me the right way, we'll be good to go. You just got to point me the right way, make sure everything was okay.
Yep, straighten them up, point them in the right direction, pat them on the butt. Go.
Yeah, go get them, Tiger. But all right, let's get into the hockey here.
All right.
So a big thing for us is Mr. McCarty got his merch. So it took a little bit. So we must have had some issues with the like mailing places there. So Darren got his toque, his hoodie. He was very surprised, made sure he chirped me in the process as usual. So Darren, enjoy that. Also, when it comes to the merch, so our merch, which everybody knows by now, is done by Laser Art and Harrow, and you can get like this hat that I'm wearing right now that you can see.
Total bunch of buttes over there.
Yeah, or this hoodie that we have, the Jersey style hoodie, which is so comfortable. We have toques. We have these styles of toques. We have the one with the ball. We have the border style. We have anything that you guys want Hat Trick Hockey needs. We got it. So just go over to our site. It's on our page. It's on our Instagram. It's on Rob's page. It's on my page. It's on Drew's page. It's everywhere. So check it out. Store Laser Art. You'll love it. Trust me. The prices are amazing. The quality is great, and you can't really go wrong with having local either. So especially nowadays, all this COVID shit going on. So rock all those local places. We keep saying it. We'll keep saying it. So moving on from that, from Mr. McCarty, we have actually, with a big story going on right now at the World Juniors was Kirby Dach. So I don't know if anybody had seen, but it was just kind of a weird little play. It looked like, so I seen a photo online. I was going to post it on our page, but it was pretty gross. So his wrist is mangled. He had to have surgery, and they're saying that Kirby Dach is going to be out 4 to 5 months. So that being said, Rob, is this something that the New York Rangers right now are sitting back saying, this is why we didn't fucking send our guy?
Yeah, for sure. Now that I think of it, and I said it before, like one of our earlier podcasts about, teams holding back on letting their guys go. I thought it was selfish, but now, these guys are multi-million dollar players, whether they're signing their entry level contracts or they're signing huge contracts. Um, that's a definite blow to the Chicago Blackhawks because he's going to miss what, half the season on a 58 game schedule. That's huge, huge. And this kid's a stud.
Well, 4 to 5 months, he's probably missing like more along the terms of 3/4 of the season.
Yeah, yeah. Could be
Right?
coming in right closer to the playoffs then, right?
Yeah, and you got a rehab. That's if Chicago's going to even make the playoffs because they're on a little bit of a slide right now.
Yeah.
So that's fucking tough, man. And I guarantee you, somewhere in that New York organization, whoever made that call of saying Kirby Doc is, or not Kirby Doc, sorry, that's saying Lafreniere is not going to the World Juniors. I bet you he's sitting back now with a big smile on his face saying, and that's why he's not going.
And remember, before he got drafted, he got hurt too in the World Juniors last year.
He did, but he came back. Though yes. That was the thing, right? Where Kirby Doc, when your wrist is in the shape of a V, chances are you're probably not going to be able to play. So
yeah,
we wish him speedy recovery, Kirby. So get back as soon as possible here. Another thing on shitty injury news is Henrik Lundqvist. So Henrik Lundqvist, we all knew that his season was ended before it even got started with his new team and over there in Washington. Now it comes out that Hank is now going to have open heart surgery. So how do you feel on that, Rob?
Well, there's a reason that they have the, what do you call it there? The when you get checked out to see where your health's at.
Yeah.
He doesn't get this done. He doesn't change teams. Maybe they don't do it while you're on the same team that you've been on, but him going to the Capitals, now he gets this full, what's the name of it?
EKG?
No, where you get that physical. Physical.
Oh, a physical,
so
yeah.
He gets his physical done, and they find all these problems wrong with him. They find one, which leads to two, which leads to three. So he's getting 3 things done in this open heart surgery that he's getting. Mm-hmm. And who knows? Maybe this trade for him was the best thing that ever happened to him, to save his life. Because let's put it in perspective. He's got millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah.
So that being said, his life could have been over before camp started.
Yeah.
If they don't look at this.
That's true.
So let's just say good for you in the NHL and the physicals that you do and the people that take care of you. Mm-hmm. Hats off to you.
So actually, possibly this trade could have very well saved his life.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like,
because I don't know how that goes if everybody's got to do that same physical, because how did it not get caught before where like this didn't just happen.
Yeah, like this is a heart.
It's obviously been going on for years, just like with my heart thing there, just like with Jamie's heart thing, like Jamie McDermott. We all have a little bit of everything is working out for the good.
That's just could not believe when I first seen that he was out for the season with the heart thing. I was like, holy shit. And then I seen that he's going to have open heart surgery. I was like, oh my God, like he's not that old. And let's face it, Hank can walk away from the game right now and be fine. No problem. And be just fine. And the only thing that's going to suck is he hasn't won a Stanley Cup. You know what I mean?
His family will be fine. His grandkids will be fine.
Oh yeah.
He's made so much fucking
I'm sure he'd be fine walking away from the game, just knowing that he has the number one thing, and that's his health, and still being
right. Well, he didn't get to walk away with a cup,
yeah,
but he did get to walk away with his life, right?
Now, so I'm gonna ask you the hard question now, Rob. Is this it for Hank, or do you think he comes back?
I really can't say because it's going to take him a year of just being healthy, let alone what kind of stress that the hockey would put on him. You know, like I shouldn't have played sports for a year, which, well, thank the COVID for that, because I would have. I would have went out and played ball, but I got to play golf, which is a relaxing game. And you know, this guy's he's such a great athlete. Like, you know, he's just gonna retire, get out, play some golf, you know, enjoy the rest of his life.
I have a feeling he's done.
Yeah.
I think he's just going to walk away with the number one prize, even though it's not a cup, but he's going to walk away with his life. And I think he's going to be thankful for that, which obviously we all know that he's going to be. Would I like to see him back out on the ice again? Would I like to see Hank hoist the cup? Fuck yeah, absolutely. Cause he's one of those guys. He's been a face of the game for a long time. And, I hope he can get back. I don't see it happening. I hope he can do it. But Hank, we wish you all the best. Get back soon. Get well soon. If you can't, that's okay too, man. He's going to ride off into the sunset. Let's face it, the guy's going to go to the Hall of Fame, right? So,
well, you don't get to be named the king and not go to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, exactly. So best of luck to him. Hopefully it doesn't turn out as serious as it seems to be, even though like open heart surgery is pretty fucking serious, but hopefully it's not as serious as it seems to be. So best of luck, Hank. Corey Perry signing in Montreal. He signed a 1-year deal. I think that's the minimum, right? 750 is minimum, right?
Yes.
What do you think that's going to do for the Habs?
That has nothing but good things on their side.
You
know, he's a dirty motherfucker too. He's one of the nastiest players out there, and Montreal needs that. Montreal needs some good fire. You know, like who do they got? Who do they got that can turn the game around just by one big hit, one dirty slash? I think it's a great move for Montreal, and especially at 750.
That's why they call him the Worm, right? Isn't that?
Should have picked him up in Toronto.
Have to fucking buy another wagon if you were.
Well, that's another 45-man roster I got going there.
The second one.
Yep. There are 2 teams in town.
Personally, I think that's a great move for Montreal. It's another gritty guy. It's another veteran presence. He's won the cup. So he has all that experience. He knows what it takes to win a cup. So, mind you, Montreal's got a long way to go, but you do have Carey Price in net. So, what did I say this past year in the playoffs? He pulled off probably one of the biggest upsets of the playoffs when he knocked off knocked off Crosby and them pretty much single-handedly. So, if you get a hot and healthy Carey Price, shall we say, and you get those guys rolling, you get Gallagher with his non-broken jaw, and you get everybody in there, and Montreal could be a team that you don't want to go in to play.
I think it's a great pickup, but you better get over there sooner. He's going to have to wait that 14 days.
I think he's already over there. He's probably already – I bet you he already knew this deal was coming. He's probably already been there for a week and a half because he probably came in, met with them, and knowing that they were close to a deal and probably just fucking stayed, man. Like, you'd be surprised.
Well, didn't that information just get dropped the other day?
Yeah, but those guys, they always know a couple days ahead of time what they're doing. It just all depends on when it goes out into the media, right?
I don't know about that because a lot of times these guys say, yeah, I was watching TSN and I got traded.
That is true too. That is true too. So I could see that going either way then. I never even fucking thought about it from that aspect of it. Real quick before we go into the interview, Canada is also off to 2-0 start at the World Juniors. We just want to bring that up real quick. They beat fucking Germany 16-2. 16-2. What fucking fun is that watching? But also Germany was the team that landed full of COVID and lost 8 players. Mind you, I don't think that helped, but
well, did you see that they asked Germany if they wanted to get bumped back a game? They were going to move them back a game, but then So they played who? Canada. And who was their second game?
Who? Germany?
Germany.
I feel like it was Slovakia too.
No, because they were worried about their first two games and they figured they were going to lose them anyways. So why bother getting bumped back? Because they may have lost to. Just give me a second here. I'll find it.
I know. I'm looking it up right now too. World Juniors here. So yeah, Germany's second game was Slovakia. They lost to Canada 16-2. And then they lost to, oh no, they won in
They played
overtime.
Germany played Finland in the first game on Friday,
Oh,
and
okay.
then they played Canada on Saturday.
And then they just played
And they knew
yesterday
they would
too.
lose both those games, so they said, "No, we're not going to do that, and we'll play the next game. Like we'll keep it the way it is, knowing that they would get all their players back."
Mhm.
But and they end up beating Slovakia in the third game.
Yes, they won in overtime.
Right. So if they would have got bumped back, they would have end up playing Canada and Slovakia, and then end up playing the Finns.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it
either
was a
way,
good
yeah.
call on their part not to just keep it the way it was, figuring that's who they'd lose to those first two games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a fucking great call. Actually,
But I was not impressed with how Canada looked against Slovakia. You know, like I watched that game and I was just like, wow, like, like they could be all skating around right now with a fucking basket full of eggs and nobody's breaking anything.
yeah.
And then I go watch who did Russia play there? The Czechs.
Yeah.
That was probably the best game I've seen in a tournament so far.
Mm-hmm.
And the Czechs came out and beat Russia 2-0.
Canada plays, so we're recording on Tuesday here, just one day before the episode drops, actually. Who does Canada got? They play tonight, don't they?
Yes.
Who do they got tonight?
Give me 1 second. Fucking back at her. They have Switzerland.
Oh, okay. So that should be somewhat decent, kind of. Canada's a fucking absolute wagon when they are
And the
going.
the Czech Republic and the US are playing right now.
Yeah, they're playing right now. So we'll be checking that out when we're done recording.
So that game started at 2:00, I think. Yeah. 2:00. This is a game I definitely want to watch.
Real quick before we go into this interview, I forgot to mention a couple points on Marty St. Louis, since this is the Marty St. Louis edition. So Marty had over 1,000 games, over 1,000 points, Stanley Cup champ, Olympic and world champion, and he's a Hall of Famer. Dude, his list of awards are as long as my arm. That guy. So I forgot to mention that off the hop. I can't go without not mentioning that. So that guy's a total fucking beaut.
What a beaut.
Yeah. And he was to me the one that paved the way for the fucking little guys. You know, it was him and Nathan Gerby, I want to say, are the two that to me are the ones that paved the way for the little guys. But it's more Marty, because Marty's just, like I said, that guy's just wow. Just wow. That's all I can say about Marty St. Louis.
He was a treat to watch, that's for sure. And he was no bigger than Doug Gilmour.
No, he was awesome to watch.
Like I want to say 5'9", somewhere in that height range. So all you kids out there, there's a chance for you.
Yep. Stay on the
puck.
Try
and get out of house league hockey.
Yeah. Don't toe drag like Rob does.
No toe drags.
No literal fucking toe drags.
Yeah. Learn how to do an actual toe drag, not drag a toe.
All right. So what do you say? Do we flip it over to this interview or what?
Yeah, and this guy's a total fucking beaut. Like I was just mesmerized by his stories.
Yeah, and he has been around some absolute fucking legends of hockey as well. So here he is, everybody. University of Windsor head coach, Mr. Kevin Hamlin. Enjoy.
Roll it.
And this next cat here on with us has played some OHL, some IHL, is now serves as the current head coach for the University of Windsor team, our men's Lancers team. Let's give a big Hat Trick Hockey welcome to Mr. Kevin Hamlin. Kevin, how's it going, man?
It's awesome. It's great to join you guys.
How's everything going with all this COVID shit going on?
Well, I mean, like everybody, trying to keep myself, my family safe first and foremost, and then my extended family, my team, and dealing with all of that. So it's uncharted territory for everyone, and we're just trying to be better on the other side. We know that the other side is right around the corner, and we don't want to be behind in any way. So we're trying to get ahead of the curve a little bit, and we don't know what that curve looks like or when it's going to come, but we've got real good people surrounding us here, and we're all trying to do the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, stay safe, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's get right into it, Kev. Where did you grow up playing youth hockey?
Grew up right here in Windsor. I'm a product of went from Windsor House League to in those days the Windsor Micmacs and Club 240, and actually played Junior C in Amherstburg. I think it was their first or second year in existence. The Amherstburg in those days, they're called the Amherstburg North Star Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
And then walked on to the London Knights and played 4 years in that league. And as was mentioned prior, had some pro opportunities. I went to 3 NHL main camps, 1 in Pittsburgh, 2 in Vancouver, and played 4 years at University of Toronto, and then got into coaching. So I feel like hockey's been a part of my life forever.
Mm-hmm. What the hell made you want to be a goalie? Of all spots you could play on the ice, why goalie?
Here's the truth of the matter. In those days, they brought all the kids to Windsor Arena, and my favorite player growing up was Bobby Hull, and I thought I wanted to be Bobby Hull. It kind of dates me a little bit, but in any event, that's who I wanted to be. And so I tried out as a forward, and they put all the kids on the ice at once. And I was waiting for my call because they had a little draft among all the house league coaches. I was waiting for my call, never got it. I should have known right then and there that would be something that I'd have to look forward to in the future. But I finally got the call from a gentleman, I'll never forget his name. Barry Thompson was his name. And he called me and he asked me if I wanted to be a goalie. They needed a goalie. Shoppers Drug Mart needed a goalie. And, my parents were away at work, and we didn't have a lot of dough in those days. And my dad had just went out and spent money on skaters equipment. And I thought that's who I was going to be. And I had agreed to be a goalie without even consulting my parents. So that's a story within itself. But that's how I got into it, and played a couple years. I look back on those house league days, and some pretty decent players in those days playing on those teams that went on and played pro and Division I, and they were great days. Mm-hmm. Very different than today, but nonetheless. I'm very grateful for having gone through the whole spectrum, right from backyard hockey to house league to travel to Junior C and 4 years in the OHL and onward.
Nice. Mm-hmm. While we're on the topic there with the Amherstburg team, my uncle Barry actually played there. Did you play with a Barry Purdy there at all?
No, Barry was he's younger than I am.
Okay. I was going to say, because I know he played there, and I think he mentioned something about someone, and his name was Guy. Is that Rob? Is this the guy? Is that the guy?
No. You're thinking of Guy. You're thinking of Guy Cottrell.
Is that the one that yanks his eye out?
Yeah. So Guy was a lawyer here in Windsor and passed away and left the team to Paul Faubert. Okay. But I played with, I believe his name is Dennis Purdy, and probably related. Yeah. Probably related, but those are good days. And I didn't know a lot about Junior C hockey at the time. I did know that The Essex 73s were ridiculous good, but there's no way I was going to make that team as a 15-year-old. And yeah, it was good times.
That's awesome. I wonder if Dennis Purdy is Denny Purdy's dad.
Could be.
Yeah, because how old is Denny? Like, how old is
Denny's
he?
just a little bit younger than me. I think he's 49, right in there.
Okay. Yeah, because he's an animal, that guy. He's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay,
right. So when you were playing Junior C, how did you end up getting drafted to London?
Strange things, in those days, clearly there was no technology and computers and things like that. So if scouts weren't at the rink watching you play, you really didn't get a look. And so it was pretty common for guys to get overlooked, to be perfectly honest. And I felt I was overlooked. And I was skating with Brad Smith in the summertime, and Smitty was getting ready to go back to Sudbury, and he was an animal. I mean, he worked as hard as anybody I'd ever seen, but he needed a goalie. So I'd go out and every day and work out with Smitty at the old South Windsor Arena, Motor City Smitty. And it wasn't too long after that he said, "Hey, look, I'm in tight with the people in London. Would you consider going there on a tryout?" And I said, "Well, yeah. I mean, I've talked to Wayne Maxter and the Spitfires here, but I really haven't signed anything. And the opportunity, one of the advantages, as you know, of not being drafted is you pretty much can go wherever wherever you feel there's a need." So, make a long story short, that's how I ended up there. Smitty got me a tryout, and I walked on, and my goodness, they had drafted a goalie in the 3rd or 4th round that was supposed to be Barry Hurd's backup, and ended up beating him out, and wow. The rest is history. Played 4 great years in the OHL, and had some wonderful times. Played with some hockey legends, and I can look back and say that they were great days, and not always easy, but there were some great days.
So we'll go on the whole hockey legends thing. In 81-82, you played a few games with a guy by the name of Steve Yzerman. What was he like then?
Well, I had the good fortune of because I was the OA, one of the overagers there, and I was one of the few guys with a car. I had the good fortune of driving Stevie to school and to the rink and whatnot. And he was one of the most humble guys. I mean, then of course, who knew what the reality would turn out to be, but you did know that he was something special. And he's just a great person then, I didn't really have an opportunity to stay close to him as the years went on. I mean, our careers went in opposite directions, but I have seen him at games and stuff like that, and he's treated me with great respect. I brought my in another life, I'm a retired educator, and I brought my special education class from my school over to the Joe to meet Stevie, and Stevie was so gracious, and he shook every kid's hand, and we met all the Red Wings, and that's the kind of guy he is. Like at that time, I don't think I'd seen him in like 15 or 20 years, and cold called him, and he was just unbelievable like that, and he's you could tell he was going to be a great person, or he was a great person, and he had really some special attributes as a hockey player. Obviously, he was, even then we had some great players in Peterborough then, but he was, inside the top 2 or 3 as a rookie. Mm-hmm. So, we knew he was going to be a good one. And when I got traded from Peterborough, we kind of stayed in touch a little bit for a year or so, and then that was it. Mm-hmm. And then the next thing you know, he's playing for the Red Wings, and the rest is history.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Now, when you went from the Pete's to Windsor, how did that all come about?
So I pretty much played my junior career injury free, and
Oh, wow.
as an overage player, I rolled my ankle. I had a fluke, a fluke accident, and it was a hockey accident. But I rolled my ankle, and I was going to be out. I was going to be out for about 6 weeks, and so I wanted to get on with things. I saw that my buddies were all at the University of Windsor, and I just, I had in those days, it was grade 13. I was ready. I was ready to go to university. And I went in and talked to Dave Dryden, and Dave Dryden was my coach, him and Dick Todd. And it was a good thing. I was 20 years old. For me to be 20 years old in Peterborough, not playing because of my injury, just didn't make a lot of sense to me. I knew that, not good things were going to happen, to be honest. It's not a great place to be when you're 20 years old, 5 hours away from home, and nothing but time on your hands. So I'd spoken with Dave. Dave was a tremendous person, him and Dick Todd, and they made the arrangement to get me to Windsor. So I think they made a deal, some kind of draft picks or whatever, came to Windsor, and Marcel Pronovo was our coach, and jumped into Windsor at the time. I think we had broken the record for the Spitfires and lost like 16 or 17 games in a row.
Whoa.
So it was a real tough, it was a tough year that they were having. And we ended up losing in the playoffs, made the playoffs, and ended up losing to Kitchener. And I think that year they went on to win the Memorial Cup. So we're in pretty good company.
Holy crow.
Yeah.
One
Lost
of
to
the,
a good team.
Oh, yeah. One of the things, too, I got to know, playing net way back then, what was the equipment like? How heavy that stuff get when it got wet?
Well, it's funny, like I see the stuff that the guys are using today, and nobody wants to hear me talk about yesterday anymore, like about the leather equipment and stuff like that. But it's all true, man. I'm telling you, for the first 5 minutes of a period, if you went down, you were toast for the rest of the period because it was just so heavy. And by the end of the game, it weighed. It was considerably heavier than the equipment that the kids are wearing today. So, but we didn't know any different. And did shots hurt? Sure, but again, I mean, they hurt for every goalie, and that's just the way it was. So, as the equipment evolved, forward equipment, whether they're skates, pads, elbow pads, gloves, everything evolves, and so too did hockey, the position of goaltending, and it's amazing to see what they have today. I watching Askarov, the goaltender for the Russian World Junior team. I truly think he has a tough time feeling pucks that hit his belly because they're standing in front of him, and there's pucks all around in front of him. He'll go on and have a great pro career, but in those days that wasn't an issue. You felt every shot come into your body, and you knew where the pucks were. Today, I think the goalies, they really have to work on finding those pucks and watching them all the way into their body, because otherwise, I don't know if goalies feel the puck or they get a feel for the puck like they did, back in the day.
Yeah.
Well, back in the day, the pucks used to hit you and then drop to the ground, right? With the sticks nowadays, you would think that the equipment would have to be a little more cushy because of the shots they're taking now. Like, you're looking at almost 100, 108 miles an hour that some of these guys can take shots, let alone their wrist shots are at like 85 miles an hour.
Yeah, well, the reality is not enough pucks hit me back then. So that's why this conversation is all about coaching and not about playing. But it is what it is. Like I said, I mean, I didn't know any different. I thought it was just the way it was, and you didn't even think about complaining. You complain. Bill Long would just put somebody else in the net. They just put somebody else in the net. There was no complaining that year, that pucks were hurting you. So, different day.
So hopping on
now,
go ahead, Rob.
Okay, so now when you Did you end up getting drafted to the NHL, or did you do walk-on tryouts, or if you want to touch on that a little bit?
No. So after my first year in Peterborough, in those days they had a 6-round draft, and my draft year was in Montreal, and I didn't end up getting drafted, but I signed a tryout deal with the Pittsburgh Penguins. And so I went to Pittsburgh, their main camp, and didn't get into any exhibition games, but they wanted me to report to Muskegon and play with their IHL team. And Dave Dryden called me and basically recruited me back to Peterborough. And in those days, there's a goalie by the name of Greg Millen, who came back and had a ridiculous overage year and then signed a pro deal with the St. Louis Blues. And so he was kind of like the template that we're all using. We thought, hey, we go back and have a great overage year. You never know what could happen, right? Always chasing that dream. So, and then, obviously when I went back to Windsor from Peterborough, Marcel Pronovo told me at the end of the year that Toledo Gold Diggers wanted me to join their team for the Turner Cup run. They had an incredible team. They broke every record imaginable in the IHL, and I had a front row seat watching them destroy teams en route to a Turner Cup championship. So I think I was there for about 17 games and played one, and was involved with their IHL parade, and it was the first experience I had as a player to enjoy a winning environment. And I always regretted that through playing junior. It's a common thing. Everybody knows that players that NHL teams want players that have played on winning teams. Good, right, or good or wrong. I mean, or right or wrong. That's just the way it is. They want people that know how to win, that have been around. And so when you're not a part of that, sometimes you get overlooked, and other people who perhaps played on winning teams, who you feel you're just as good as, they get that nod. And guys that are in that situation, they know exactly what I'm talking about. And the reality was, I wasn't good enough to step in and play, and that's just the way it was. And then I was, but because I played that one game and sat on the bench, I was ruled ineligible to come back and play in the CIS. And I appealed it. There was nothing I could do. I approached Windsor, and I played some senior A hockey with Chatham that year, but I had to sit out the whole year to get my amateur status back. In the summertime, Mike Keenan called me, and his first question to me was, do you want to win a national championship? And again, think about this. A kid that's never played or had an instrumental role on a winning team. And I said, yeah, of course, I want to win a national championship. Well, he said, then get your tail here to Windsor, to Toronto. That was the first week of school. I showed up on campus. Mike got me into the school, got me into a residence. That year, we won a national championship. Mike went on to Philadelphia. Tom Watt came in, who was a former Jack Adams Award winner. Tom coached us for 1 year. Then he went off to Vancouver. And after my third year with the University of Toronto, Tom brought me with him to Vancouver, and had a great tryout there to the main camp, and played some exhibition games and really played well, but knew I was going to come back. I was a year away from graduating. Mm-hmm. So they helped me out a little bit, paying my way back to school, and played my fourth year at Toronto, as long as the deal was that they would help me as long as I'd go back to Vancouver, and I did. So when I graduated from U of T, I went back to Vancouver again, played some exhibition games, was sent down to Fredericton, sent down to Flint, and I just, Rick Dudley was the coach in Flint. There were 5 goalies on the ice for practice. I played I had 2 starts, never lasted through the first period of either game, and we just got hammered, blitzed, and didn't have a good go of it. Had a real bad couple weeks. I still actually it was still smarting a little bit, being sent down from Fredericton to Flint, and I wasn't mature enough to handle it. And I didn't have a lot of support around me in those days. You know, what I needed was somebody to kick me in the pants and just say, you know, it is what it is. Like, you're gonna have to deal with it. But instead, Pat Quinn was the president and GM of Vancouver Canucks. After the second game I got pulled, I went into Rick's office in Flint. Rick Dudley was a great guy, and I said, Rick, I'm done. I want to go home. I want to start school. And he said, well, you know, you should reconsider. This is kind of a hasty decision. I said, no, I'm done. And he said, well, let's call Pat. Pat was on the phone, and Pat said, go home for a couple weeks and come back. I was just resigned to the fact that I was done. I didn't want to play anymore. So I took my gear out, and on the way home, pulled over on the side of the highway, threw my goalie gear on the side of the highway, and continued on to Windsor. And you know, I didn't even have a full discussion with my father, to be honest with you, about the whole situation. It was just a real messed up time for me. And you know, but yeah, I look back, and all the great things that have happened to me through the game. You wonder, would that have happened had I not done something like that? And you know, clearly it was pretty unconventional. And you know, I in retrospect probably could have handled it better, and maybe should have. But like I said, I really didn't have someone who had gone through that before, and somebody to get in my ear and just say, no, put your stuff back in the dressing room. Here's the way it's going to be. And I wish I had, but you know, it is what it is.
One of the things too, I love to ask guys who are always in net, and you've been like everywhere when you've played. So who's that one guy who just fired one at you that just made you go, holy shit? Like, who is that one guy who shot the hardest?
Yeah, there's no question about the answer to this question is Dino Ciccarelli. Oh. You know, Dino Ciccarelli had the hardest shot. My first couple of years in the OHL, like, it was crazy. I mean, you almost hoped that it missed you in practice, you know, because and there's another player on that team. His name was Frankie Nigro. That was, I mean, these guys could wire the puck, and you know, and Dino, obviously Hall of Famer, and you know, can shoot it. Scored quite a few goals in his career because of that. But I would think, just off the top of my head, that's an easy answer for me, and saying Dino.
Perfect.
I just got to go back for 1 second with that story that you just told about your getting through to the NHL, and that was a hell of a story.
Yeah,
like I loved it. Like, it was so awesome.
Rob, do you have any more hockey stuff for him before we go on to his coaching?
No.
Okay, well, we'll hop right into his coaching.
Okay.
So when did you get your first coaching gig? Like, how long ago? Where was it? Like, stuff like that.
So in the late 80s, 80, 89, I finally got into the University of Windsor Faculty of Education. Realized I wanted to be a teacher, and felt that was a way for me to, if I ever wanted to stay in the game, you know, being a teacher was kind of like the sexy thing to do in those days, because you had your nights available, your weekends available, and it was what all my friends were doing. So I really tried hard to get into the Faculty of Education here. Mike Allender, who's the dean, took a chance on me. Roger Nielsen went to bat for me. They all got me into you know, the Faculty of Education here, and I look back and I'm so grateful that those men were in my life, that they you know, they were kind of mentors back in that day, and told me exactly what I needed to do, and did that. And at the same time, I was playing professional lacrosse with Detroit Turbos. Oh, wow. So I was at the Faculty of Education. I was playing for the Turbos, and Brad Smith remained a real good friend of mine, and he was the head coach of the Windsor Spitfires. So, you know, we're having a beer one night, and Smitty said to me, you know, why don't you come and help us? And maybe you can help the goalies, or, you know, you can be around. And, you know, I don't know if you know Brad Smith, guys, but he's a beauty. Like he is.
I grew up watching him play hockey.
Like if you could ever get him on and the stories that he must be able to tell, but more importantly than all of that, he was a real good friend to me, and he opened a lot of doors for me, and as a player, and in retrospect as a coach, and so Smitty had, and I'd seen guys before me like Paul Maurice and Pete DeBoer. They were, they kind of went up the ladder real quick, and I thought, geez, maybe there's something in it for me in that way, because that was my why. Why would I want to coach, right? And I had to answer that real early. I wanted to coach. I wanted to coach because I couldn't play in the NHL. Perhaps there was a spot that maybe I could coach, and clearly I wasn't ready in those days, and but that's the way it happened, and I jumped on Smitty's staff with Dave Perpich, and I learned so much from him, and Smitty was all about motivating, and he was the one that would come in the room and rile the guys up, where Dave was the guy that he was the X and O guy, and Dave Perpich, you talk about legends of the game here in this area. I don't know if you can have a conversation about hockey and the progression of hockey in this area and leave out Dave Perpich. I don't know how many regimes with the Spitfires he's coached with, but he was always the go-to guy. He was always the go-to guy when ownership would fire or remove the head coach. Dave would step in, and and that, I don't know how many times that happened. I'm guessing it happened 5 or 6 times. But I just marveled that in those days, Perp was he was a teacher, and he was everything I wanted to be. He hadn't played in the NHL. I didn't play in the NHL. But he was a great communicator. I thought, it's something that I could develop into. But he knew so much about the game, and that's where I really was. I was a distant. I didn't know anything about the game, to be honest. I was there as a somebody that could help in any way possible. I could help. In those days, I think I did a couple radio shows, or I helped Beller do play-by-play. I would do anything that the organization would ask me. I went on a couple scouting trips and kind of learned about the game that way. But that's how I started. So I was a first-year teacher. I was playing for – so now let's fast forward. I was hired in the January of my teaching my 1 year at the Faculty of Education. I was hired in the January of that year, coaching for the Spitfires and playing professional lacrosse at Joe Louis Arena with the Turbos. So I had a lot on my plate, and if you knew me back then, you'd think that was a good thing, because
Uh-oh.
blocks at the last week of school, they mean that, until they know the numbers for the next year, you're going to be laid off. Again, I thought, okay, well, that's great. Here I am. I don't really have anything. I can go back and supply teach or be an occasional teacher, but really didn't know how that was going to look. I was golfing with Ted Sater, who in those days was the head coach of the Buffalo Sabres. Les Binkley, who was a former NHL goaltender, and Vern Stenlin. We're golfing in Grand Bend, all working together at the Huron Hockey School. And Teddy Sater said to me, Hammer, would you consider going to Ithaca and coaching with Brian McCutcheon? They're looking for an assistant coach at Cornell. And I said, would I consider it? I mean, buddy, it's yes. I mean, it's the only thing I have. I wasn't getting paid with the Spitfires, and I really wanted to get into it. And I thought, geez, if there's any way to do that, then here's a great opportunity. So, make a long story short, flew to Ithaca that weekend, met Brian McCutcheon and Mark Taylor, fell in love with the campus. It was unreal. Signed a 1-year contract with Cornell, left everything behind here and went to Cornell, where I can honestly say that, you know, even though I was only there for a year, I mean, I only made $10,000 US. In those days, that got me by, but, you know, it wasn't enough to raise a family on.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, you know, I got to do something different. And really, at the end of the day, I wasn't going to be a head coach in the NCAA because I wasn't an alumni there. And I didn't want to make $10,000, $15,000 for the rest of my life as an assistant coach. So, you know, I had to make the move to come back to Windsor. Smitty offered me the coaching job in Windsor again. But I mean, the year I spent at Cornell, I learned so much under those guys and all about, you know, how to recruit and, you know, like it was unreal. You know, the trust that they put in me. I would fly to an area, get a rental car, watch games, come back, travel with the team on weekends. It was just unreal. And, you know, to be involved in that level in those days was pretty special. We won the ECAC and played at Boston Gardens and ended up losing, ironically, to the University of Michigan in a 2 out of 3 regional championship. So, but you know, came back to Windsor. Smitty offered me a position back, and I felt like I was at the point where I could now contribute. I worked really hard at learning the game, and I still do, to be honest. You know, but I was much better, and I knew I could contribute a lot more in year 3 than I could in year 1 for Smitty. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, that lasted a couple months, and then Smitty was fired, and that was a nightmare. So Perp and I hung on for a little bit. Perp coached the team, and I was his assistant. And then Belle River Canadians offered me a position. They asked me if I would, Brian Leclerc, who was an executive in those days, never forget it, called me and said, would you consider coaching in Belle River? And, you know, I never had my own team before. And in those days, the head coach was Greg Primack, and they had just won an Ontario championship. And fellas, I don't know if you've ever been around, you know, in Belle River or Essex when they're playing in a, you know, Ontario championship, but typically they're the only show in town, and people literally line up at the arena at 4:30, 5 o'clock, or else you don't get in. Mm-hmm. It was just a cool thing to be a part of. And I said, sure, I'll interview. And so that's how that started. I was in Belle River for 5 years, and, you know, that's, it was unreal. But to be given that opportunity, I never would have had that opportunity had Brad Smith not opened the door for me, for one. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I was calling him and Perp all the time, you know, for things that I should have known, but didn't, you know, and, you know, I encourage young coaches to do the same. Like, you know, you play the game for what you think is a good part of your life, and you think you know the game, and you probably do as a player, until you have to break things down and know why you have to do it, and then be able to teach it. Yeah. Right. And that's an art. It really is, that not a lot of players are able to do. Mm-hmm. So I had to work hard at that, and still am, for that matter.
I guess. Rob, you had something form on Belle River, didn't you? Didn't you have a?
Yeah, just before that though. So what was your interview like when they brought you in and interviewed you for Belle River as being the head coach?
Well, there were a few people in the interview. I can. It's funny. I remember these names vividly, and like Brian Leclerc was the gentleman that he invited me in. Bill Dunning was the president of those days. Felix Laporte, and Angelo Teddy. They were all on the executive, and this was all new to me, right? And I walk in, and there's a room full of gentlemen, and you know, I think they were impressed that I was a school teacher, that I'd had some experience at Cornell and the Spitfires, and maybe, my youthfulness and my willingness to bring players in and to work as hard as I possibly could. But I was walking into an organization that was rich in, they'd won everything. I mean, it's not an easy thing to take over for a guy in those days like Greg Primack. Greg Primack had won at the junior B level. He'd won at the junior C level. And now Greg was going on to the Windsor Bulldogs as a Ontario championship coach. And, to take over a team like that, you truly, the cupboards are bare, because everybody wants to follow their coach. And so we I think we ended up second or third that first year. And then, we won 4 consecutive league championships and it finished with 2 Ontario championships. And then I went on to Leamington. Mm-hmm. So it was, I wish I could tell you guys, the people, the local people who are unreal, and they rarely get mentioned. These people, they set up the framework so that many of these kids today could play. Mm-hmm. And many of the coaches that are coming up, I don't even know if there's a sense of gratitude for how hard those people worked in those days with those junior C teams. Yeah. And of course, they had bingos in those days. And look, these guys were every night they were working bingos for the hockey club. And I don't know what a lot of these teams do today. I imagine they still, have significant fundraisers. Yeah. But guys, these people work so hard to make sure that our area kids have a place to play. They have so much pride in their hometown. Like the people in Essex, it's ridiculous, man. Like the people in Lakeshore and I could go on and on. Those that were in Kingsville, the guys in Wheatley. These are all small town communities. For them to have a budget, because it's a significant budget. You got to have some dough to have these teams, and really the payoff. What's the payoff? Because truthfully, in this area, unless it's unless something crazy happens, Essex and Bell River are coming out. Yeah. That's the way it's been forever. So how about all these other men and women who have worked so hard in the Kingsvilles of the world, the Amherstburgs of the world, that know at the end of the day, they're not going to beat Lakeshore. They're not going to beat Essex, but they somehow convince the kids that they are. They have a real positive mood around their team, and they work so desperately hard to give the area hockey player a place to play and a team for the community to be proud of. It goes unsaid, too often. These people are the heroes. These people are the guys that and men and women who really you wouldn't know. You'd show up, you'd go to an Amherstburg Admiral game. You wouldn't know. You don't know how hard Greg Crane works for that program. You don't know how hard his team, his fundraisers, his supporters, what they do.
One of the things I was going to ask you too, Kev, is I heard you say something about Leamington. So you actually coached a buddy of mine from Harrow there by the name of Lee Harris. Do you remember what you asked Lee years ago? Because we had Lee on probably a couple months ago now, Rob, I want to say. So and one of the things Lee said, he said Kevin Hamlin was my coach when I was in Leamington and I was figure skating and stuff. He was doing all that, and he said one of the things Kevin looked at me, he's like, I didn't know how to answer him. He said he looked at me and he said, "Are you ready to quit that figure skating shit. That's exactly what you asked him. Do you remember Lee and doing that at all?
I don't remember that question. I wasn't always as politically correct back then as I like to think I am now. I don't know. I don't remember that question, but I playing at that level, playing at the junior B level takes quite a commitment from both on and off the ice from those that play it and those that coach it. So I was probably, I probably wanted Lee to to focus on us.
You did.
And that was I don't know that exact question. I'm not saying I didn't ask it, but I shame on me for putting it like that. If that's what I did.
No. He didn't say anything bad. He was like, I loved him as a coach and stuff. But he was just like, he's just said it was just one of those hockey moments that he said he'll never forget.
Well,
and there he is, folks, Mr. Kevin Hamlin. That guy has been around some absolute legends. Did you hear the names that he was dropping during that interview?
Absolutely.
Like, whew.
Motor City Smitty, Stevie Eiserman.
Yeah, fuck. Driving around fucking Stevie because Stevie wasn't even old enough to drive yet.
Maybe he didn't realize that Stevie was using them.
But man,
he's too nice of a guy.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Well, what a great interview. That guy stories. I could listen to him for days.
Yeah, he's awesome. So Kevin, thank you so much for coming in. Best of luck to you. And we're definitely gonna have to get you in for round 2 because I feel like that you were just one of those guys that we barely scratched the surface with. I'm sure
because I got about 15 more questions for you, buddy.
Yeah, Rob's always got a shitload of questions. So we'll jump back into the hockey here real quick on the outside of it. Mike Hoffman gets a pro tryout in St. Louis. Why do you think they say pro tryout? Like, we both probably know that he's gonna play, right?
Yeah, I don't even know what that means. Like a pro tryout, like you're trying out for St. Louis, which everybody knows is a pro team. So
it's just pretty much saying that we're inviting you into the camp to try out. Is that their way of saying that, like, we're gonna sign this guy without officially signing this guy, like before? Like, do you think there's like a deadline or something? Or I don't know. I'm not too. That's why I'm just kind of spitting out questions because I'm not too sure. I've never really got it when it comes.
Well, let's just say that you're asking the wrong guy.
I just never really got it when it come to the pro tryout thing. So I always assumed like it was like we were just talking about off air, like the trade shit, how they trade guys that they know aren't going to play just for the salary cap room, right? Or the space, right? So that's why I was wondering, is it a loophole, shall I say? That's what I was wondering. But
like Joffrey loophole?
Like Joffrey loophole. But yeah, so Hoffman's there on a pro tryout with, let's face it, he's going to play in St. Louis. He's going to help St. Louis. He's a probably 20 to 30 goal a year guy. And I don't know, maybe him and fucking Carlson will meet up during the playoffs and drop the mitts or something. Because let's face it, there's unfinished business there, right?
Isn't that because of their old ladies?
Yep. And I think during a game too, I don't know if it was last year or the year prior, it was after a whistle or something, but Hoffman skated over to Carlson and grabbed him by the jersey and asked him to fight.
Should just cross-check him right in the face.
So he went up to him and said, hey, like, if you want to settle this, let's settle it. And he fucking, obviously Carlson, he probably won't fucking drop his gloves.
Has he ever been in a fight?
I don't think he'd drop his gloves to save his life.
Got great hair though.
Sweet hair.
Great hair.
Sick little fucking mustache curl too. Right? He's got that going too. So that's pretty cool. And he's a great player. Everybody hates guarding him because he never gets fucking tired, that guy. I was watching, speaking of him, so Carlson, they was watching this replay or whatever, and they were lining up for a 3-on-3 overtime. And the one guy said, and you could read his lips perfect, he said, "You got Carlson." And the guy, you read his lips perfectly, he says, "Do I have to have him?" That was exactly what he said, because the guy never stops. But I know I'm rambling. We're way off the topic, but
He's got a mustache like what's his name there from Pirates of the Caribbean.
yeah, Johnny Depp.
Johnny
This is how I talk. See, I feel like that's how he should talk when he's on the ice with a mustache.
Dick Dastardly.
Yeah.
If anybody can remember that one.
Yeah, put him up, huh? But like I said, Carlson won't fucking drop his gloves to save his life. So, speaking of, well, the Senators, they traded a second-round pick to the Coyotes for Mr. Derek Stepan. So, veteran guy. What do you think on that move, former Broadway guy here?
Well, I see that the Ottawa Senators are really building a wagon there, man. Like,
No shit.
no, you can't take these guys lightly anymore. Like, they've put some big names on that team. Like, and and I'm gonna go back and say it again. In that interview, we were talking to Hammer, and he said, we can create our game the way we want to create our game here in Canada. But we're going to have an all-Canadian division. I'm telling you, it's going to get all of Canada watching these games, which you can almost call them series because they're going to play 10 times, 9 times.
No, it's great.
At the least. And I think this is so exciting. I don't even know if I will watch another game. I know you will because you love the Red Wings.
Yeah.
But myself, I will be watching all of Canada all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So that being said, I see Ottawa building this freaking wagon that they're building because they know how tough this Canadian division is going to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And now that you think of it, what if they created a Canadian hockey league and took all these rules that they've been making in the U.S., like good old Canadian boys, they like their smash mouth hockey.
Fucking right.
Good old Canadian viewers, beer league guys, you name it, house league guys, everybody likes the good punch in the mouth hockey.
Fucking
like the
right.
Battle of Alberta. If that didn't fucking rile everybody up in Canada, let alone the hockey world, I don't know what did.
Dude, look at back in the day there in fucking Ottawa there when, who was it? Tucker there fucking jumped into the bench.
That was one of my favorite things I've ever seen in my entire life because not only that, he jumped in there, that squirrely son of a,
his eyes were fucking this big, right? Like he gets.
But if anybody can
eyes.
remember, if you watch that video of him jumping into the bench, it was the Star Trek OG with Spock and all that. And it was every time Captain Kirk would get ready to fight, the music would go.
I did hear that actually.
I'm telling you, it was the funniest thing I've ever heard. Let alone, I'm happy he's jumped in there, and then I start laughing out loud because he's actually in there and the music is going. And I want to say it was in Ottawa when they did it, but man, I laughed my ass off for that.
That's fucking funny. Me and Drew and my godfather there, Rick, we were at a Ottawa game, and it was literally like the game after that happened. Like that happened like on a Saturday night or something. We were at the game on like Tuesday or something in Ottawa. It was Jason Spezza's like third game in the NHL where he was playing for Ottawa, and it was like and remember when Rob Ray signed in Ottawa? It was Rob Ray's first game as a Senator that we were at. And
That's awesome.
Jason freaking Spezza, Rick had us so close to the ice. Jason Spezza made a move. They were playing Boston, and they were going down 2-on-1, and the guy like laid down on the ice so he couldn't like get a pass through. He fucking toe dragged, not your fucking drag, Rob, like with his stick, and he toe dragged around this guy's stick because he was like laying flat out, and toe dragged around this guy's stick and let a snapshot go and it hit the crossbar. And I'm telling you, I've never seen a puck go up. It had to have gone. It went like over the like netting at the back of the net. It hit, went over that netting, and was probably 10 rows over the netting is where that puck landed.
Wow.
Like, that's how hard he shot it. I've
Wow,
never seen anything like it. When he just that drag and the snap, like you heard the quick, like little noise of the stick on the ice. And as soon as you heard that, it was bing, and then the puck was gone. Like, we were like, where the fuck did the puck go? They're like, oh, it landed up like 10 rows over the net. I'm like, holy shit. But to just a snap of your wrist and put a puck like that it's pretty incredible. And that just kind of shows you what type of guy he was. And let's face it, he's older. He could still fucking shoot like that. Come on.
And drop the mitts.
Yeah, now he's a thug.
He's Toronto's bruiser.
Yeah, now he's the fucking bruiser. At least he's not out there crying like Mr. Line, shall we say. We'll lead into that fucking story here. So
Nice segue.
yeah, nice segue. So Mr. Line, so Patrick Line is looking for a trade away from the Jets. And Rob, we both know why. Do you want to fill everybody in on why?
Well, you just go back to last year when Paul Maurice came out and said, he actually, Laine said it himself, like, I should be playing with this guy and this guy, and I should be playing with this guy and this guy, and why does this guy get to play with that guy? And it's like, you know what? You're not the coach.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to put you where I need you. And you've only been in the league, 2 years at this time when he was bitching about it last year?
Yeah.
Right? So you don't get to say shit.
Mm-hmm.
You need to do what the coach tells you. Bury the pucks when you need to, because you're whining so much that you end up going goalless in how many games, and I should give you extra ice time to play on my first line with who are you taking off that first line? What do you got? Shifley, Wheeler, and fucking and whose spot are you taking on that line?
Yeah, not one of those guys.
Sorry, kid.
Yeah.
Back to the fourth line. There you go. Deal with that.
Well, listen, you've been in the NHL for what? He's only like 22 years old, 22, 23 years old. So he's
right.
been in the league for like 3-4 years. You had one good fucking year, bud. And then now you're going to come in here and you're going to tell us on who and where you're going to play. Like, you know what I mean? You're still a kid. You're a kid.
Be better like Matthews and you'll be on the first line.
Yeah, grow a sick stash. Just keep your pants
create
up
your own first line.
Yeah, just keep your pants up and you'll be fine. That's all you got to do.
Well, see, that's the thing. Why can't you make the guys better on your line to end up making it your own first line?
Because he's a selfish player.
100%.
Him and Matthews, like if you were to put those two side by side, let's say, they are light years apart. Like, you know what I mean?
I think in French it's called side by each.
Yeah, side by each. But these guys are miles apart.
Yes, 100%.
And all in every fucking aspect of their games. Matthews is way more consistent when it comes to his points and this and that. He's a leader. He will never fucking say, I'm playing here, I'm playing there. Just as much as it is, he seems like he just goes with the flow. He does what his coach tells him to do. And then there's Laine. You have one good year, you're bitching. You freaking want to play here. You want to play on this line. You want to do this. You want to do that. Dude, last year or the year before, it came to where it was a point in time where you didn't score for like probably 20, 25 games. You know what I mean?
I thought it was more like 16, 20, but yeah. I get what you're saying. But let's put this into perspective. When people didn't even know, and so didn't Laine and Matthews come in the same year? Weren't they in the same draft?
I want to say you're damn close.
Because I thought one went 1 and one went 2. I thought they were both.
You may be right.
And they didn't know who was going to go first, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
I do see what you're doing here. Hold on, let me look it up here real quick.
So putting that into perspective, and if I'm totally wrong, I'm totally wrong. But it came down to Tavares and Matthews for the captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs. And you didn't know who was going to get it. And when Tavares got it, Matthews didn't go to the media and say, "Oh well, I should have got it. I'm younger. I'll be here longer." Like he just said, "Congratulations, good for him, and let's see what our captain can do for us."
And you're right. Matthews went number 1, Laine went number 2, and Pierre-Luc Dubois went number 3. So it was Toronto, Winnipeg, Columbus. So you hit it right on the head, my
Check
friend.
out the big brain on Bob.
Yeah, stat guy Bobby. But yeah,
And that Dubois was a hell of a pick too.
Yes, those top 3 at that point, you couldn't really go wrong with any of them.
Well, with Dubois, remember we take it back to the playoffs last year, and Torts gives him a fucking whole new reaming. Yeah. He comes out, scores a hat trick against Toronto the next game, and see you, Toronto.
Yep, that is true. Moving on from that, LA signed Andreas Athanasiou to a 1-year deal. It was like a 1 point something mil a year. What do you think on that move when it comes to Los Angeles?
Okay, as a Red Wing fan, why did he end up leaving and going to Edmonton?
I think the Red Wings possibly got a little bit sick of it because he held out for a bit.
Oh, did he?
Like, yeah, like he fucking held out, and like, listen, bro, I don't even think he's probably if I had to guess, he's probably a 25 to 35 goal a year guy when he wants to be. I just have a crazy feeling that he wasn't the best dressing room or team guy. Because you know how
okay, so go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say the Red Wings are a big organization when it comes. They're a big like team and stuff organization, right? So that's what makes me kind of think like maybe he was bad in the locker room, because I always liked him as a player, but I don't know. But what did you have on him?
Look, well, the thing that I kind of find odd is a lot of these hockey players are seeming to becoming like these football players when it's I, me, which I don't understand, because hockey's always been a very respectful game. Mm-hmm. And in the last couple of years that I've been watching it, like I never saw this stuff before, and now I'm starting to see it. And I think Athanasiou only had 14 goals last year with Edmonton. I could be wrong. Mm-hmm. Probably am. But I'm pretty sure I'm right. Now, with that being said, 1 point, whatever you said, $1 million for Athanasiou.
Yeah, he was like 1.4 or 1.7 or something.
And what do we say? I know I'm kind of straying off here, but
whatever.
What did we say that Bertuzzi got?
Bertuzzi,
and how many goals did he have? I thought Athanasiou was a better hockey player than him.
He is, and
Bertuzzi gets X.
I think Bertuzzi got like 2 something.
Yeah, because he went to arbitration, right?
Yeah, it was like 2.4 a year or something like that.
But how do you get dealt out of Edmonton? Jesus. You got to be a head case.
I think he was an unrestricted free agent because he was with the Wings, and then him and Mike Green both got dealt to Edmonton, and that was, I think, just prior to the pandemic. So I think last year was a split year for him, like between Edmonton and the Red Wings, and Mike Green retired. So he retired. Athanasiou's now moving on to LA. So if they can keep him like reeled in and keep him like focused on hockey and only hockey, he's probably one of the fastest skaters in the league. So if they could keep him like motivated, shall we say, I think it's a low risk, high reward type deal for him if he does that. So moving on to a guy that's not a complete head case, shall we say, Jonathan Taves. So they're saying that Jonathan Taves was going to miss, they're saying possibly all of training camp and the start of the season due to an illness. So they're not saying what it is unless they've come out with something. But last I've checked, there hasn't been anything. Thoughts on that, Rob?
That's a huge blow for Chicago and Kirby Doc being out. Like, wow, you guys are fucked.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know how else to put it.
Hopefully it's not too long, but hopefully it's not a COVID thing, right? Because maybe hopefully it's not a, I don't know. Hopefully it's just like a flu or something, and they want to like take their time with it or something. But I don't know.
Okay, so whatever is wrong with him, he said this off season I've been experiencing symptoms that have left me feeling drained and lethargic. Whatever lethargic means, I'm not sure. He's working with doctors and working on his conditioning. So I'll have to look up lethargic, and that's for another podcast. So
Yeah,
we'll figure that out.
I'm just, so I don't know. Maybe it says something with COVID, kind of. I don't know. We're going to find out, though, aren't we? We're going to find out. But to me, maybe they're just giving him more time off to just make sure that he's rested for when the season. Because now with a 56-game fucking season, now you have to come out hot, but you have to stay hot too. Right? Like
what does lethargic mean? I'm asking my dictionary.
I should have asked Siri.
Fatigued and sluggish. This sluggishness may be physical or mental. People with these symptoms are described as lethargic.
So fatigue, sluggish. He said he felt drained. So it's just another word for drained.
Yeah. So just another word for another sign of COVID.
And it says he's mental.
Playing in Chicago. But it's won, what, 3 cups there? 2 cups there?
Great pizza. Great pizza.
Great deep dish. And don't they turn the river there green every St. Patty's Day too? I feel like that's in Chicago, is it not? I forget the name of the river. Is that Boston? Boston? How did I mix up Boston and Chicago?
Not even close, bro.
I don't know. Whatever. I am Canadian. Also, the last thing that I have here on tap is, did you see the Rough Riders fucking stadium there? They turned literally the whole playing field, sidelines, everything, wall to wall field. It's all ice rink now. They even like did it. It's ice like around the fucking goalposts, everything. What do you think? You want to go out there and snap a couple pucks around or what? Holy crow.
Off the crossbar.
Did you see the photos of it?
No, I didn't.
You didn't see the photos of? Oh man,
you'll have to post some on our website
on the page there. Yeah, it's insane. I was like, holy shit, it's the biggest ice rink I've ever seen besides a lake, right? Obviously, lake's probably. What, do you got something flying around you there?
No, I was looking at the time. We've been doing this for fucking over an hour.
Yeah, we've been at her, buddy. We've been at her. So what do you say? Should we just crush beers and fucking watch hockey?
Yeah, they're gonna watch this Czech US game.
Yeah, I'm gonna check it out too, and then I'm gonna go make some food. But all right, I'm all good. You're all good. All right, everybody.
Go Post.
Yeah. Fingers up. Until next week.
Hockey net.
Yeah. And Rob, we're signing off. We're out of here. See you. Talk to you next week.
Peace.